Hi guys, what's going on? It's BPG13 here. Today it's a bit of a ranting video, this video. It's about the racing game industry and what I think. These are my personal opinions, obviously everybody else has their own opinion. So if you don't like these opinions, well, tough, because they're mine. This is what I think of them. Obviously everyone's got, like I just said, everyone's got their own opinion. And yeah, these are my opinions on the racing games now. So let's get started. So immediately we're going to jump into Gran Turismo. Now, this has had a variety of games throughout the past 10-20 years or so. It started in about the late 90s, obviously 99, 2000s. Okay, so I've wrote a few bullet points down for each game series. Now, I'm going to cover 3 game series: Gran Turismo, Forza Motorsport and Need for Speed. Now, obviously there's others like Burnout, but they've not got as many games out as these have. Obviously Forza Motorsport's only got like 5 or 6 out, including the new one that's coming out for the Xbox One, Forza Motorsport 5. Okay, so, Gran Turismo, or where do I start? The graphics are really good. Now, I can't just say that for a start, obviously there must be some sort of reason behind it. Well, I've played Gran Turismo, and I've played every single one. Now, when I say I played every single one, obviously I haven't played the flow, apart from the prologues, so like Gran Turismo 5 prologue, Gran Turismo 4 prologue, should I say. I have played the 2002, Gran Turismo 2002 Tokyo Geneva 1. And that game wasn't as good as I thought it might be. But I picked it up and it was only like 2 or 3 quid, it was quite cheap at the time, so I picked it up. Okay, so, on a brighter note, Gran Turismo has had the hugest range of cars out of the 3 game series. It's had 1,000 plus cars in its most recent one. Had about 600 odd in Gran Turismo 4, and in Gran Turismo 3 it had about 400, 500 cars, maybe a bit less than that, 300, something like that. But it's had a variety of cars. This range from everyday cars such as a Ford car, Toyota Yaris, to something like a Nissan Skyline GTR race car, something like that. It's had a variety of cars throughout the past 5-6 games also. Okay, so it's had like I said, best graphics, huge range of cars. The controls, now these have been up and down throughout the past few games. Now I'll start on the brighter note. The first 3 games, so Gran Turismo, Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3, all had good car handling models. Gran Turismo 1 and 2, PlayStation 1, they had good ones for that sort of console. Then they moved Gran Turismo onto the PlayStation 2, it got better. But after Gran Turismo 3, it stopped. Now, it carried on, the graphics kept improving, but the controls of the cars weren't improving. This meant that people weren't as satisfied. Now, people were satisfied with the game, but oh yeah, Gran Turismo 5. They don't really notice, nobody actually mentions the controls or anything. Maybe it's because they like the controls, I don't know. Personally, I've only played about 5 minutes of Gran Turismo 5. Done like 1 or 2 rally stages on it, but I don't like from what I've played, because I've had a go at 1 or 2 things, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is okay. But the car controls, you can't feel the weight reduction. I mean, it might seem like it's a good game to play, but in some sort of sense, it's not. It's just not worth your time, unless you really like the career modes in the Gran Turismo, then pick it up, buy 5s, your choice. Best controls will go to Gran Turismo 3, because even though 1 and 2 active controls, Gran Turismo 3 had better controls, and the graphics have been improved from the first 2 games. Now, the cars were very heavy when controlling them, and they did slide a lot into corners. Gran Turismo 4, it was even more of a problem with the cars handling like you were driving a cardboard box. So the steering was just like, the car wheels didn't turn, it just seemed like you had to slow down, and it took like effort to get a car around the corner, which wasn't really worth it. Okay, so the spin-offs that it's had, so the 2002 Tokyo Geneva, Gran Turismo 4 Prologue, Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, have not been any good. Now, they might have been just release launch titles just so it warms you up to the Gran Turismo 4 and Gran Turismo 5 main games, but it did a bad job of sticking to the Gran Turismo thing with some scheme, should I say, with like some games not being more focused on driving, more being focused on the cars just mainly, and you know, there's not enough attention for the game itself. Okay, and also the format and the layout for the menus. Now, somebody who've been talking to today, I mentioned something about the menus. He said, well, they're not very good. They're very well formatted. They're not very well formatted and laid out. That's because I've seen the menus myself as well as he has, but he's played more Gran Turismo 5 than I have. But when you look at the menu, you've got about 10 to 15 tiles of what to pick from. So it's not as easy as just, oh, I want to race, I'll click that and go there. You have to find out like however many tiles are up on the screen and then click. This is the main menu I'm talking about. It's not just some random menu. I mean, they kept it basic on Gran Turismo 3 and 4 where it's just a list and there was only a few things on it. But then Gran Turismo 5, whoa, they spread it out by a mile and it's not going anywhere for them. I don't blame it for not going anywhere. Okay, so Gran Turismo in general, it's been a good game series, but it's just downgrading. I mean, I'm hoping to see some improvement in Gran Turismo 6 that comes out if it comes out this year. I'm hoping to see some improvement. Sony, improve your games, that's all I'll say. Next series, Forza Motorsport. Now, from the start of time, probably 2001, start of this decade, well, start of the late 21st century, so the early 2000s, basically what had happened was that the Forza Motorsport game was brand new and it was developed by Turn 10 Studios eventually, and Microsoft Studios as well. Now, this has had various things added to it and it has improved a lot over time. There's not been many errors or mistakes. And the only error or mistake that they've made is that it's not got a full range of tracks like Gran Turismo has. Now, Gran Turismo's got something like 70, 80 tracks, whereas Forza's only got like 30 or 40. And most of the ones that are in Gran Turismo are real, some are made up, and stuff in, you know, in Forza Motorsport. Okay, so the spin-off, which was most recent, so I'll run it through, is that Forza Motorsport was out in the early 2000s and the graphic got good reviews from it. Gran Turismo, Forza Motorsport 2 had improved graphics and it's more the Xbox 360 launch title. Forza Motorsport 3 came out about 2009. I think Forza Motorsport 2 came out about 2005, 2006-ish, around about there. But it had good graphics nevertheless. Now, aside from all that, Forza Motorsport also has had a huge range of cars, but not as big as Gran Turismo, so it's not had more than 1,000 cars like Gran Turismo. It's had something like 400 plus cars, about 500 and something cars. The tracks are quite good with every detail, down to every last detail. The developers have really worked hard on the tracks of focusing on what they're like, and the car handling is brilliant as well. Now they did include the Top Gear track, same with Gran Turismo, they did include the Top Gear track in there as well. Now, the steering and the way the car feels is something that's on my list, is because, well, put it this way, in Gran Turismo, like I mentioned, the cars handle like a cardboard box. The controls are not very well. Well, how the car controls are not very well. Whereas with Forza Motorsport, if you had a steering wheel and you played that game, you would find the game absolutely amazing, because I've played Forza Motorsport 4 and Forza Horizon, and they're both great games, especially with the steering wheel I've got, it's a Super Sport 3X. But it's a really good Forza Motorsport game to play. Any Forza that I've played is brilliant. I mean, I wasn't into Forza Motorsport 2 when I first got it, or Forza Motorsport 1 for that matter when I borrowed it or something. But they're all good games nevertheless. Now I will say this, is that not much can be said about Forza Motorsport aside from that it grew on people when it first released. Now when it was first released, not many people thought it was any good. As time progressed, the games have got better, the graphics have got better, the car handling's better, they've included more cars, etc, etc, tracks and whatnot. The spin-off Forza Horizon last year's game was a brilliant game. I mean, it did go on sale quite a bit, and everyone was saying, well, some people were saying, oh, it's a good game, and some people were saying it was a bad game. Well, it's your opinion, I suppose, on what you think of the game is. Personally, for me, I thought it was a really good game, and they actually included off-roading for a change, which it makes a massive difference from the Forza Motorsport 4 game. Right, so Forza Motorsport, it's a great racing series, and I hope it carries on that way. Forza Motorsport 5 is soon coming out this year for the Xbox One. I'm looking forward to seeing what that has to offer, how many cars that has, track has, what the weather's going to be like, and whatnot. So hopefully I will try and get some gameplay whenever more details are revealed. Now currently there's been an Xbox One trailer yesterday's event, Xbox One reveal event. They did actually show the trailer for it, but hopefully we're looking to see something better over the coming months, between now and October or November, whenever it releases. And last but not least, the Need for Speed series. Now, where can I start from here? I could probably start at the first Need for Speed. It was just called Need for Speed, and that was in like the 1980s. As times progressed, graphics got better, controls got better, etc. You know, tracks were obviously tracks are made up in these sort of games. Now, some, depending on what it's like, now they have got quite close to doing actual race simulators. Now, Need for Speed Shift and Need for Speed Shift 2, they have a bit of resemblance to Gran Turismo 5 actually, because they're both Shift and Gran Turismo 5 have actually tried to get it close to an actual racing simulator as they can, and they're doing a pretty good job of it, I'll admit. Now, over time graphics have been improved. Now, I've said that for both Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo, but they have. It's because technology is moving forward, games are getting better. Well, some are. Racing ones, I mean, some are in the racing series, but, you know, I mean, scenery, some light off cars, etc. Now, one thing I will say is that on 2004, whenever Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original one, came out, it did a great job of sticking to having it had a storyline, which is the first in the Need for Speed game. Now, Underground and Underground 2 had that, but they didn't exactly have much of a storyline. The Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original, had like, not interactive ones, but they had better looking ones, and the cutscenes were great and the graphics were brilliant for its time, I suppose. And then as time progressed, obviously they made Need for Speed Carbon the year after, used kind of the same not cutscenes, but they used the same technology that they made to make cutscenes, ones that they made for Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original. Next thing I want to move on to is the fact that the controls have actually gotten worse. Now, this is what I was coming on to. Now, Carbon's controls was about the same as Most Wanted, the original. About the same. Now, as much as I like Carbon and Most Wanted, because I love the old Most Wanted compared to the new one, Undercover came about a year after Shift. So Shift came out about 2008. Undercover was out about the same year, or a year, I think it was 2007 actually. Undercover was out, then it was Shift, and then so on. So then, about 2 years after Shift, or a year after Shift, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit was made by Criterion Games. This did tremendously well. Now, I'll admit the controls take a bit of a while getting used to, but for somebody who first plays it and doesn't think much of it, I thought the game was rubbish because I didn't like the controls of the car and how it handled. Because I was more used to cars steering straight away into a corner, but it just kind of disappointed me. And once I got more into the game and got a feel for the controls, I found it quite easy to manoeuvre the cars through traffic, escape police chases faster, etc. And yes, there is police in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Now, after Hot Pursuit Shift 2 was released, now, so like I said, it's same as Shift, but there's more added cars and helmet cams and all that added to it. And then we finally come around to Need for Speed Most Wanted, the 2012 remake. Now, everyone kept wondering why this wasn't like the old Most Wanted, and it's because, well, a number of things have been changed. Now, obviously Criterion have made this one, have made the new one rather than the old one, because EA did a fantastic job with the 2005 one, whereas Criterion, they kind of mucked it up. Now, when I first saw gameplay for it, I thought the game looked amazing, and it was running on 60 frames per second, I thought it looked really good. Now, Driver San Francisco runs at 60 frames per second, and it still outdoes it. I still prefer Driver San Francisco over Most Wanted. I prefer any racing game over Most Wanted, even Burnout Paradise, and that's been out for 3 years. And that's still better than Most Wanted, I think. Criterion have made an absolute muck of this new Most Wanted, and I think it needs to be improved, because the number of cars that are in this new Most Wanted is about 60 something. I don't know how many, it's probably about 60 plus. It's not enough cars, Criterion. I don't care what you think of how many cars we need, it's not enough. But at the end of the day, controls are getting worse. The cars are turning. Need for Speed Most Wanted is going, not Need for Speed, the Need for Speed series is going down the toilet. When I say that, I mean it's getting worse. Now, it did get better, and there was 1 or 2 games that made it bad, but after Shift 2, it's gone. It's lost its spark. There's nothing there to reignite it. Now, Most Wanted, the original, Carbon, Shift and Shift 2 are by far the best out of anything. Actually, I do own some of them. Now, Undercover, Hot Pursuit, the new Most Wanted are bad games, and I was before I didn't really like them either. But they're getting worse. Now, Need for Speed is getting worse, and it needs to really improve. Now, as to when, if a new Need for Speed is released this year, please, whoever's making it, Black Box, EA, Criterion, whoever's making it, please improve the car controls, because the ones we've got at the moment, and I mean that, because there's nothing people can do. Even though the amount of people that play Need for Speed Most Wanted, and there probably is quite a lot of people that play it nowadays, but most people are getting bored of it after playing through to winning Most Wanted, defeating Most Wanted cars. Adding DLC, it did kind of help, but it's not raising anything. It's just adding new cars and you're just doing the same thing. Basically, it's not enough. Well, that's been my thoughts on the Gran Turismo game series, the Forza Motorsport game series, and the Need for Speed series. Now, the Need for Speed series in general, before I finish this video off, it started off good, it got better and better, it got to 2000s, then it got worse, then it improved, then it got better, and it got worse, then it got better, then it got worse. It basically goes on a pattern. It gets better, it goes worse, it goes better, it goes worse. It needs to just stay better than it already is. Now, Criterion and loads of people think that the new Most Wanted is better than any other game that's in the Most Wanted series. I personally disagree. I think the best game in the Need for Speed game series is the 2005 Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original Most Wanted. As for Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport, my favourite Forza Motorsport up until now is probably gonna have to be Forza Motorsport 4. I'm not a huge fan of Forza Horizon. I mean, they did add a few more cars and whatnot with DLC, but I still think that Forza Motorsport 4 is the king of the Forza Motorsport games series. After Gran Turismo, it's got to be Gran Turismo 3 for me, mainly because the cars handle a lot better than they do in the new ones, the newest titles, shall say. Okay, so that's been my my thoughts and opinions on the racing games then and now. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like if you did. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe, and I'll like me on join the group on Facebook, as I have a group on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with everything I do, and follow me on Twitch. I've become a huge Twitch fanboy recently, so I'll have an important message for you about the end of this week, next week. I'm not saying what day because I don't know yet, but there's an important event next Thursday that I'm going to be hosting. I'll reveal more details in an upcoming video. Okay, so from me, have a good day, and ta-ra, folks.